Welcome to this interview with my latest fertility expert I'm speaking to today. And welcome to Marc Sklar. Thank you so much for being willing to join us in this brief but powerful interview.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm excited. Just in our brief conversation already, I'm excited for where our conversation will go.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah.
For those who don't know Marc, Marc is a fertility expert with over 15 years experience. He's a doctor of acupuncture and Oriental medicine, and he's been trained in a number of institutions, including Harvard Medical School. So kind of trained in the best and invested himself to the highest quality. And so what I can see is serving your patients so powerfully. You've got 2 clinics, I gather, in San Diego.
Yeah, I've got 2 clinics here in San Diego, and then about 4 years ago, I started to work virtually as well with patients from all over the world. Yeah. I started getting a lot of requests and figured that would be a lot of fun. I try to do things that make me happy and bring fun to my life, and that was something different and new. So I felt like let's jump in and see what happens.
Yeah, excellent. Similarly, I love to I do Zoom and Skype, and it's great to connect with patients all over the world. So we're just, it's the first time we've kind of connected in this way, and we're saying amazing our paths haven't crossed up to now. So it's great to finally be connecting with you and sharing some of your experience.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So tell me, I'm going to start in the place of how did you come to working in this space and specializing in fertility?
Yeah, everything in my life has really happened fortuitously, and as long as I've listened to myself, and I think the universe and whoever or whatever is guiding me or us, I've usually ended up in the right place. And the same thing is true for that, or for where my professional path has taken me. And so I got into one natural medicine and Chinese medicine because I had a lot of digestive issues myself. But when I first started off in school, I walked into the school and I knew that I wanted to apprentice with somebody and learn from someone who's been practicing. So I started to seek somebody out. And for those, trying to make that long story short, for those 4 years, I apprenticed with a woman, primarily one person, but then towards the end, several, who specialized in women's health and fertility. And that kind of just working with her kind of happened by accident or so to speak by accident. And, but I loved it. And then when I started working with patients, all the patients who would come to see me at the school clinic, and anyone who knows who's been practicing in some sort of clinical environment in a school setting, it's not like you go out and market yourself and ask for what you want. It's just what comes through the door and what schedules with you. And can't say all, but 90% of the patients I saw were all coming in for hormone-related issues and fertility and reproductive health, and everybody else was treating pain. So I knew that was my first sign. Simultaneously, my brother had some issues getting pregnant, and I helped him, kind of like how I worked with my virtual patients now. And he currently has 2 sets of twins. And then my first fertility patient came in with PCOS, and she got pregnant about 4.5 months after working with me. So all of those things kind of happened simultaneously, and I figured it was time for me to listen, and so I did.
Fantastic. Yeah. I love the kind of similarity of the story, and my wife and I's our personal experience led us this way. And it's funny how we always remember our first fertility patient. I never forget my first fertility patient. And that's before I knew I was going to specialize in this space. Yeah. It's kind of a light bulb experience of realizing, wow, this is a magical space to be in.
Oh, absolutely. You don't forget it. And we're friends on Facebook now, her and I. But, aside from the pictures to my right of my children, the only other picture above my desk is the first child that I helped. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And, Chinese medicine and Oriental medicine played a massive role in our journey personally, my wife and I. And we're convinced we wouldn't be having had our son if it wasn't for that. Particularly my wife's kind of healing, but also mine. Her gynecologist who specialised in Chinese medicine treated me as well. And I still use acupuncture things in my life. I think it's a massive, powerful, natural healing modality that a lot of people are unaware of or really tapping into. So what would you say to someone who's pursuing getting pregnant either naturally or through treatments? What would you say as an introduction to this? How can it help them?
How can Chinese medicine help them?
Yeah.
Well, it's so powerful. I mean, one, I think of Chinese medicine as the patriarch of functional medicine, right? Functional medicine is making these big inroads now, at least here in the States, about looking at the body in a slightly different way, seeing how the body integrates each system with the other, and how one aspect of the body works with the other, how they work together, and looking at our lab work in a slightly different way, right? And so it gives us more information. Hopefully the key with it is that you start to detect imbalances and issues prior to them becoming disease processes, and we can treat them more efficiently and effectively. Well, I think of Chinese medicine in that way as well, and kind of like the initial functional medicine model. It's very integrative. They're looking at how each system works with one another, and looking at how we can prevent disease from coming on, how we can treat it as naturally as possible. Now, do both systems work a little bit differently? Sure. You've got one that was created in Asia and one that was, essentially created in the West. And so, the way Asian culture and history and philosophy work, that kind of dictated the ways and the theory of Chinese medicine. But Chinese medicine has been for thousands of years working with women's health. It's actually one of the initial things that it started working with, treating, and it's been always so powerful. And so we have to think of it in this way, without getting into all the history and cultural issues, and unfortunately, segregation and so forth in China between men and women. But because of that, women had to be treated differently and very effectively, right? And so they created all these wonderful tools and theories and methods for diagnosing women's health-related issues, and then treating them. And so, whereas, we might have, in the West, I don't know, let's just say 10 different main female-related disorders. In China, they have 30, because every little thing, all the details, is considered, a disorder or a disease process, right? And that's to the benefit of the medicine, because we can get into all the itty bitty details of what's going on, and where we would ask all these intricate questions about a woman's menstrual cycle, and the color of the blood, and pain, and days, and so on. Your regular OB doesn't really care about those things, because they're not valuable to them. So we can affect not only the symptoms that you're feeling, but also the hormonal process and fluctuations of a woman's cycle in much greater detail if we have all the right information. So Chinese medicine, in its full complexity and assortment of therapies, meaning herbs and acupuncture and moxibustion and cupping and everything else that is encompassed in it, is really, really powerful if used right, but more importantly, if the diagnosis is right. And that's key for any medicine, right? If we get the right diagnosis, then treatment kind of plays itself out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. And I'll never forget, of course, coming to mind is our first appointment with the practitioner we saw in the beginning of our journey, having gone through the Western system, and my wife getting fed up of just treating the symptoms with more and more stronger drugs, rather than actually getting anywhere for healthier well-being. Because at that time, we never thought we can get to a stage where we can have our own children. It was about treating it in a more holistic and healthier way. I never forget the first session with our, the traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. It felt like coming home. It felt like someone's finally exploring to really understand what's going on, and looking at the whole body, the whole system as a whole, rather than just that one little function. It was such a breath of fresh air, because it's a whole new world to us. Yeah.
It's a powerful thing. I mean, there's something to be said for Western medicine and its ability to really specialize, right? I mean, I'm a specialist in what I do, so are you, so there's something to be said for specialists, but they're so closed-minded in their specialty, right, that they really can't see or integrate any other system. Well, so we're outside of the uterus and ovaries, and it's extending into the digestive system. Let me refer you to GI, right?
Absolutely.
Well, but I'm not going to talk to GI, and GI is not going to talk to me. So we're not going to communicate, but I'm going to send you there to figure out what's going on with your digestive system, and I'll still work on your reproductive system. It just doesn't work, right? So I often, patients will say to me, but I have all these digestive issues. I was like, oh no, we're going to address those. But I thought you're a reproductive specialist. Well, I am, but I can't ignore all those things, right? I can't put my blinders on and just focus on your uterus and ignore the digestive system. And one, I've got, a strong and big place in my heart for the GI system, because that's how I got into medicine. So, I think it's really important to look at the systems as a whole and the body as a whole. And just as you said, right, we're trying to find out why. That's the biggest thing for me, is this, and I bring it up all the time, is figuring out why we have these issues, because then treatment is much easier if we could figure that out.
Absolutely. And it comes to mind, I work with some gynecologists. There's very few that see the bigger picture in Western medicine, gynecology traditional. But there's one or two get it, even from the mind and body, and they refer patients to me, and we talk, we share notes. And it's like an integrated treatment plan where they're looking at the biological things, I'm looking at the mindset. And even one gynecologist contacted me saying, do you think this patient is ready for IVF?
That's fantastic.
It's fantastic. They get the bigger picture and see how the mind can affect the body and the body affects the mind. And it's the same with all our systems. I get that. And I never forget. I referred other people to Chinese medicine. And when I one lady, she'd been through 10 rounds of IVF. 10 rounds of IVF with some of the top clinics in London and the UK. And eventually she came across me with a conversation. I referred her to the TCM practitioner we went to. He was the only one to diagnose why all those previous 10 IVFs has failed. Because
he cared enough to figure out why. Because everybody else didn't figure out. I spoke to a patient yesterday. It was the first time, her first consultation with me. She had been through 6 miscarriages and 10 losses of fetus, right? Because some of those were multiples. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, and has anyone figured anything out? No, because they haven't looked. They haven't looked. It's crazy. Yeah.
Cool. So what would be your biggest bit of advice for anyone who's trying to get pregnant, whether it's naturally or through treatments? What would you say if they want to explore this area or start to treat their body as a whole system?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I find, whether they're trying naturally or with IVF, is one, we have to give ourselves enough space, and by space I mean time, to give ourselves the opportunity to heal our bodies and bring our bodies to the right place to actually be able to conceive. So as you would say, is we just need to get healthy, right? We need to, what did you say to me in our first, it's about Project You, right? We have to get to you first, and you have to get healthy first. And then after that, you've now set up the environment to have a healthy baby. So one is time, giving yourself that space to focus on yourself and to get healthy. 2 is within that time and space is to have a plan. If you're just going into it and you've read every Google search you can on whatever you're searching, and you've spoken to 10 different people, and I promise you every one of those individuals is going to tell you something different. Now you've got your 2 shopping bags of supplements, you've got this crazy regimen, but it's not tailored to you because you've read your top 10 lists of what you should do, and so you're doing all of them, whether you need to or not, and you don't know if you need to, you're doing all of them. So for me, it's about having a plan. So it's about creating the space and time, figuring out why you're having these issues. So doing the investigative work up front to figure out what's going on, and then having the plan to follow to get the results that you're looking for. And without having that why and that space, we can't facilitate that plan. And that is really tailoring and giving you the guidance and direction that you need without being pulled all over the place and basically taking everything you read. That may be good for you.
No, I totally get that. I always say it's not what we do, it's why we do it. It's the motivation. So many people are doing all this stuff out of fear of not getting pregnant.
Right.
The moment it becomes a chore, it's not only serving them, that kind of fear is going to be doing more damage than what they're actually doing. So I love that, getting that kind of understanding the why and having that plan rather than just grabbing everything. Because it can be, as we know, become quite obsessive. People seeking that one thing is going to make a difference. But
Right.
it's not about what we do, it's kind of why we do it, and having that reason and that analysis to know where we're tapping and why we're tapping there is really
Yeah.
powerful.
Absolutely. And I think the key thing that you just said there is that we're doing these things out of fear that we may not have a family, may not have a child, fear that my partner might leave me, whatever that fear is, right? And so that's it's so powerful, it's so strong that it's pushing us forward without any real sense of direction. And I think we need to embrace this process in a very different way, in a more positive way. Say, well, how can I grow from this? What can I learn from this? How can I make this a joyful, happy process? I think we got to flip the script a little bit and approach it from a different perspective. And I think that would make huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think people aren't aware of the power of the kind of mind and body being one system. When you're in a much more healthy psychological mindset, your body falls into much more healthy physical space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, with Chinese medicine, Oriental medicine, it's much more intuitive as well. It's and I always say to my patients, my clients, that your intuition is the best kind of doctor you can have in a way. Listen to the experts, but then what does your body say to you? No one knows your body better than your soul. It's like,
right. Yeah. When sometimes patients ask me, why did I do something in a treatment, or what, I just thought it was the right thing to do today. But I also encourage them, like, if I'm laying out a plan for you, and when you read that plan, something doesn't sit right for you, or you think we need to start here versus here, I want to have a conversation about that, because it's woman's intuition for a reason. We have to trust our gut and trust ourselves and listen to ourselves to do that. So I think those are very powerful things that we ignore all too often. Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
there's probably women and men, mainly women, listen to this all over the world, and you might spark something in them. How can they start to get the benefit of this for them? How can they find out how you work? Do you have for something online work, or is there a program they can start to explore this kind of approach for themselves?
Yeah, so I have many different ways that someone can reach me. I mean, the easiest way is my website, marcsklar.com, where they can learn more about me, see my weekly blog posts. If you want to work with me, there's different options there. I've got, some online do-it-yourself programs, and then some more one-on-one specialty programs with individuals. But if you just want to learn a little bit about what information I'm sharing, then you can certainly follow me on any of my social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, where I do a bunch of videos as well. And so if someone wants to hear my voice and hear some of my thoughts, then that would be the way to do it. Yeah.
And often people think of Oriental medicine, I think of acupuncture and herbs, and think, well, you have to be, was you face to face for that? So how does that work when you can help people all over the world in this more integrated way?
Yeah, so my programs are all designed so that, one, I can't put acupuncture needles in through the computer, so it's designed to use acupressure.
Cool.
And use that system. But also, if they live in a big city and they have acupuncturists available to themselves, then I'll help facilitate, finding somebody that I think is suitable for them. If I think they need it, I don't think every condition, needs it as part of their plan. But if I do think it would benefit them, then we figure out the best way to incorporate it into their process.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Marc, thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to maybe having more connections with you in the future and sharing more with my subscribers and people, because I know that you've got so much more wealth of experience and stuff I can't bring to my subscribers, to see the whole holistic side of the medical side from an ancient but very wise approach. And it's close to my heart, as I said before. So thank you for your time, and I shall post the details below so people can contact you direct. And I encourage people to do that, to explore this approach for their own well-being and their fertility journey. So Marc, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk and certainly to meet you, and I definitely look forward to our paths crossing again in the future.
Thank you.